Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Joshua Patterson, and I would like to welcome you to the season finale of Honestly Single. Yes, we are here at the end of season 1, and man, it's been quite a ride. There's just been so much that's been discussed already. It's crazy to think we're already at the end of May as well. April was just a whole nother thing in and of itself. What made April funny was, there really was an April Fool's joke this year, and it's the fact that, April actually arrived. It seemed like April was gone before it even came. Then May comes along, and we're like, hey, May, you gonna hang around a bit longer? And May was like, maybe. But here we are right at the end of the month. I hope everybody enjoyed a great Memorial Day weekend. I got to spend some quality time with my family. We hung out at Evo Entertainment. It's a really great arcade center and movie theater and bowling alley all in one. But we just had a really good time, and it was just fun seeing, my parents goofing off, my mom hyper reacting to the VR games. I played with her and my sister, and watching my parents play air hockey. But it was just really good quality time, much needed. We had great food and just made great memories. And I hope you all, whatever you got to do, I hope you just really enjoyed the time off, had time to reflect. For those of you who do have loved ones, who gave their lives in military service, and I just wanted to commend your loved ones for their service, to thank them for their sacrifice. Because it's important, the dutiful efforts of American citizens to help make sure, our borders are safe and protected. It's the only reason we can even have fun on Memorial Day, that we can enjoy that type of quality time and peace without worrying about, our territory being invaded, our lives being threatened. So, again, thank you so much. But here today, I am working here to conclude a multi-step analysis that I've been making just on, the subject of, just singleness and stewarding that season properly. Over the past several episodes or so, I've been breaking down what I feel are the 4 core tenets of the soul-searching process. To first and foremost be patient, because it really takes time evidently to figure someone out. Even when it comes to dating, a date is not a single one-time outing, as the veterans know. Dating is a whole process of really figuring out, who someone is, where they're coming from, their values, so many other factors. So when you integrate that with patience, it's just a matter of taking the time needed to really figure out who someone is. But also, the second component to that is also understanding that everyone has their season to search for someone. We oftentimes talk about cuffing season. Well, everyone has their own unique season to find their significant other. There is no set exact time frame. We can have personal plans and ideas in mind, but ultimately there are just certain things that are just dictated by, the unpredictable but often rewarding intricacies of life. They can be very rewarding if you're patient. Secondly, we've discussed discernment. We've talked about how important it is to understand that, when you look at an individual, more often than not, you're just looking at the representative. But when it comes to discernment, it's understanding how to look beyond that cover to the book and really understand someone's heart posture. Again, understanding what their values are. What are their relationships like, even outside of the two of you? How do they interact with others? How do they interact with relatives? How do they treat friends? How do they treat subordinates in the corporate environment? And just a matter of, just what really motivates them day to day. So the sermon is a whole process of really figuring out, not just the outer, but also the inner workings of an individual and what motivates them to do what they do and be who they are. And ultimately, what makes them compatible or incompatible with you in your journey. And then most recently, we also talked about the importance of peace, about not allowing, exterior values and opinions and expectations dictate and influence your behavior in the dating landscape. And just understanding that, it's okay to be at peace with who you are. And really a core component to finding the significant other who's right for you is understanding who you are and what your values are, because that ultimately influences the type of person that you look out for, who they are, and where they're oriented. So all of these things are critical. And the last step that I wanted to discuss today was letting the heart win. And I think that's important because we live in a society that has so many different definitions of love. So, when it comes to the nature of the heart, somebody could, receive a really nice gift from someone, a really charitable gift, and they discern that as love. Or, somebody could really feel a certain way very strongly and passionate about someone, and they think that in that moment of catching feels, as the kids say, they're experiencing love. Someone can have, a moment, of physical intimacy with someone. It doesn't even necessarily have to be of the sexual nature, but, let's say they were literally rubbed the right way in an instance, and they think they're experiencing love. But, a lot of times, a lot of those ideas tend to be shattered, especially when expectation meets with reality. Sometimes we feel that we're, the ones transmitting love. We think that we're giving out love just because, we're able to give out kisses, or we're able to fork out money to people, or we're able to fork out, time and attention to someone. We define that as love. We think that we're giving love to someone when we shower them, with compliments, with flirty compliments, with well-meaning compliments, so on and so forth. And we think we're administering love. We think we're administering love, again, when we're spending time with people, when we're letting them know how often we're thinking about them. We think that all of this stuff really makes up love. But, love can be a very challenging journey, especially when an instance where, all of that compassion and that charity, everything that you're dishing out, isn't exactly reciprocated the way that you expect it. I can definitely testify to that because I've experienced that, myself, a really, rough season of heartbreak where it seemed like after all of the time that I devoted, after all of the attention I devoted, the money that I invested in gifts, even well-meaning statements that I expressed in my poetry, when that wasn't received properly because, of another individual's romantic preferences, it brought me into a really dark season of intense hurt, and I started entertaining the idea that maybe there was something faulty about me, me personally. Maybe there was something inept about myself because of how things turned out. And it was at that point that I started to entertain an idea that was sort of inspired by a song by Paramore called "That's What You Get." If you remember when Hayley Williams sings in the chorus, "That's what you get when you let your heart win. Oh." And I really used to entertain that. As glamorous as the vocals are, it's kind of a dark statement, to say that's what you get to allow your heart to win. That's what you get when you're kind and gracious to people. That's what you get for being nice and being vulnerable. That's a really unpleasant thing. But there was a time where I had entertained the idea that, hey, this is the outcome when you choose to make yourself open to others and express your heart. And it's far from the truth. It's far from being accurate. But when it comes to our holiday seasons around Valentine's, there's of course that strong anthem that emerges. And I might have talked about this before, but the concept of loving yourself, there's a lot of push for, loving yourself, when you learn how to love and appreciate yourself. Of course, they promise, fulfillment. One of the benefits that other people talk about as well is, you don't have to worry about being hurt by someone. You don't have to worry about being disappointed. So, loving yourself, of course, it can have a really nice facade to it. As long as you don't get into the intricacies, the thought processes behind that concept, loving oneself seems real endearing. But once you get down to the core of it, once you see that loving yourself can sometimes mean, prioritizing yourself to the point where you don't mind benefiting at another person's expense. that's when it takes a bit of a darker and more unpleasant tone. So, I just think the whole idea of loving yourself has been, in certain instances, it's been perverted. There's nothing wrong with treating yourself to, unique experiences and opportunities and things that just simply bring, wealth and fulfillment to your life. There's nothing wrong with choosing to stay single, out of, just wise intentions and calculated purposes. But there is something wrong when self-love becomes a form of selfishness, to where, you don't mind, being cutthroat with someone, or shaving other people off in the name of your personal benefit. I think that's where, we really need to check and evaluate ourselves and the nature of our behavior. Because when it comes to self-love, it's actually a wonderful thing, but it's really it's just one portion to a bigger process. It's one phase in the overall goal. Loving yourself is great, but loving yourself should also extend to how you love others. I've met people who have literally believed that they are at a loss for love, or that they're incapable of experiencing love or even delivering it, simply because they have there's no romantic partner present to express that love to or receive from. And I just think that's inaccurate. I feel that you would almost have to be cut off from society to lose opportunities to love. And even being cut off from society, I don't think that's still, I still don't think that protects you from love. But just to explain what I mean, the individual that you had to let go in the aftermath of a breakup, or any form of relationship that didn't work out, that's a love opportunity. How you chose to release them was a love opportunity. The way that you treat the stranger that you encounter on the street, in need of assistance, simply in need of an uplifting message of support, in need of charity, that's a love opportunity. And in general, how you treat people and how you decide to treat others, regardless of what they have to administer to you or give to you in return, that's a love opportunity. When you just go beyond that whole transactional idea and feeling that, I treat you this way because of what you first gave to me. Once you learn how to get beyond that you start to receive a perspective as to what true love is all about. Because true love is it doesn't start from the inside. Well, it doesn't start from the outside in. It's not about what people transmit to you. It starts with an internal resolution to decide to care for people and to show charity and compassion towards people, regardless of what they administer to you. So it begins with an internal resolution, and then it leads to an external action. So it begins, conversely, from the inside out, and that's really the grand secret. I've even heard a saying on certain radio stations, and the host would say, he likes to say a lot, that the world is full of nice people, and if you can't find one, be one. And I've been in environments, I've been in both worlds. I've been in environments where, I wasn't at a loss of nice and kind people to find. Then I've also been in really hostile environments where I really had to be that positive source. I had to be that light in order to find and see other points of light in other fruitful areas and places of encouragement. So, sometimes we're called to be a light. We aren't always going to be in a position where, everyone is catering and pandering to us and our emotional dispositions and our feelings. As a matter of fact, most of the time, nobody really cares how you feel, but you have to choose to be positive and to radiate, a standard, that you feel should be, exhibited more often in society. And you'd be surprised at the impact that has on other people. Just me, even the other day, just receiving a thanks from the bartenders for taking the time to ask them, where I should dispose of my trash after I'm done eating, as opposed to just eating and leaving litter all over the table. They actually voiced their appreciation for the fact that I was even concerned, about where to dispose of the trash. So it's little actions like that can go a long way. Helping, someone take out the trash. It could be somebody, near a gas station or another public space, and just helping them handle that load or moving ice. My mother's done things like that to help people, complete strangers in different places, and just watching the light, come up and awaken in their eyes. That in and of itself, that one instance can inspire love in you. So I just think that's critical. It's human nature for us to expect to reap what we've sown. We can put good things in, we can put positivity in, and of course we expect positivity to bounce back out to us, we expect to receive that in return. Of course, that's not always the case, but it's at times when we realize we're not exactly planting in the most ideal soil. That's when we're challenged to love anyway, to love through our hurt, to love through the brokenness of other individuals. There's a gentleman by the name of Richard Rohr, and he once stated that pain that is not transformed is at risk of being transmitted. So he would just say flat out, pain that is not transformed is often transmitted. And what he means by that is, if we don't take the time to, repurpose our hurt, to repurpose our inconveniences, that can get us in a bit of trouble, because what we'll do is we'll go into the next relationship, but we'll be coordinating that relationship from a place of hurt. So now we're suspicious of rejection. Now we're operating out of an attitude of deception. Because we didn't properly deal with the hurt of our past, now we're at risk of transmitting that same hurt and passing it on to others. And I'm intimately familiar with that concept because I've been on the receiving end of that kind of treatment. So I know what a challenge that can be. So I want to share that. I'm really just sharing that, to encourage everyone to, really just take the time to transform their mindset. It's easy for us to give in to that type of attitude, but amazing things can result, when we learn how to do what I call reassigning your compassion. And I'll explain what that means. I had a friend a few years ago, and she asked me, when it comes to the relationship landscape, she asked me if I was the type to, guard my heart, or to protect my heart, or even to conceal, aspects of myself for the sake of avoiding hurt. And I told her that, in time, what I've learned how to do is I've understood how to transform the manner in which I administer love toward others. So I never stop loving, but what I do is when I understand the dynamics of the relationship have changed, I understand how to repurpose that compassion. I realize that, such and such individual, they may not be the best romantic partner, but that doesn't mean that they can't be a great friend or a great associate. That doesn't mean that they can't be someone who, I could, invest my positivity in. That way they have a good point of reference when it comes to their future relationships. So for example, Clara may not have by any means been the ideal spouse. She may have had a lot of, dysfunctional thought processes and ideas at work in her mind that rendered her incompatible as a wife. But that doesn't mean she can't be, a trustworthy friend and confidant, at least until the real wife arrives, and also the same thing, even with Terrence, with Mr. Terrence. He may not be the best example to your children, the type of individual you want to father your kids, but that doesn't mean he can't be, a great and helpful mechanic. And hey, he may even give great discounts. You might be on the receiving end of what they call pretty privilege. He may give you some good deals in the mechanic shop just because he favors your appearance or whatever. So it's just understanding that the people you encounter in life, they serve oftentimes different roles from what you may expect. But there's still good wisdom to glean for that. It's just understanding that, when you enter the soul-searching landscape, you can enter that environment with the humility that helps you to understand that, everyone plays a different role in your life. And then you also have to take the time to be patient and explore, what role you play in the lives of your neighbors. And when you approach soul searching with that type of mentality, it can help you, avoid the mistake of, misappropriating the role individuals people play. It can also keep you from condemning individuals for not being, who and what you expected them to be. So I just feel that, those principles are really critical. Another thing I would just like to discuss, there was an interesting TED Talk I came across recently, and it was on the nature of love. And so when it came to love, there was this presenter, and she was discussing love from the aspect of scientific analysis, just talking about how love can oftentimes be determined by a process of the right chemicals operating together in the right place, which of course, triggers the right feelings between two individuals. And, suddenly love happens. So, it's about, the right people in the right place, and certain things happening at the right time. And I really respected, the scientific perspective on love, I should say. I just don't feel that, it provides, the most adequate detail, of course, the most adequate breakdown of just, what a special discipline love is. Love is as much of a discipline as it is a delight. So while, you can make a whole series in depth of calculations to determine who's likely to fall in love, that's still super shallow compared to, how intimate and really how sacred love is. It transcends beyond even natural study. But, for me, from my experience, I understand that, it could take an entire lifetime to fall in love, because you cannot have love without a spirit of sacrifice. When I think of love, love is, the mom who takes time, to abandon, the season finale of Dancing with the Stars in order to dance with their son's challenging math homework. To me, love is the time that the dad takes to get away from the big game on the big screen so that he could join his little daughter and be an attendant to her little tea house party, simply because she values it, and she knows that years later in her life she can look back and reflect on the fact that her father purposed to be present in her life. He wasn't lost in the screen, he wasn't lost on Xbox, but he actually took the time to spend quality time with her, and he was invested in her life. I know that intimately, because there was a time when I kind of heaved and hawed with my dad, because my dad wanted me to sort of chauffeur my sister and keep her company as she headed down the street to a friend's birthday party. And we were both younger at that time. My sister was real little. I just wanted to sit home and play video games. But, I remember my dad telling me, he's like, your sister's going to look back years from now and she's going to remember the time when you purposed to be by her side at important events. And just understanding that, it helped me understand, from a young age, that you absolutely cannot have love without sacrifice. It's not a moment. Love is not defined by a moment in which you are, quote unquote, winning someone else. It's literally a whole lifetime of losing yourself. You're giving yourself up for the benefit, of that significant other. And that could be a different person at different points in your life. It's not always a spouse or a girlfriend. It could be a close relative. It could be a dear friend. It could be individuals under your leadership. But it makes you better as a spouse, as the eldest brother or sister, as a leader, as a corporate executive. So, all of those components are really important. And the fact that I can remember that episode to this very day, that, I can look back and remember my dad speaking that into my life, it just shows how precious and valuable that principle is. So I wanted to share, all of these things with you, just to share with you how, love is really a process of, humility. It's a process of humiliating you. Well, not so much humiliating yourself, but more accurately humbling yourself, and just lowering down your personal interest in deferment to, the trajectory of another individual's life. We're all going places. You'll find that there are times when you're meant to connect with people, and then there will be a time when it's in the best interest of both of you to branch off for the simple sake of, maturity and progression through life. It's really critical to understand that. I know that, even, from a Christian perspective, it's just the process of, just really being willing to lower yourself the same way that your creator did. A lot of what I share, even in Honestly Single, does in fact come from my Christian background, because Christ himself clothed himself in human flesh. He literally became crap. He embodied himself in the mess of humanity so that humanity could trade places with him and inherit a crown and reign in authority and eternity with him. So, and I think, I just really feel that we can model and emulate that same attitude and mindset, even as human beings. The person that I'm looking for as far as a significant other isn't somebody who so much falls in love, but somebody who's literally, well, figuratively willing to fall, so to speak, but falling out of their love for another person. So somebody who is saying, hey, I'll sacrifice this public engagement for the simple sake of spending time with you, at the beach or at a resort, just for the sake of mental health purposes. Or me on my end as the husband saying, I'll sacrifice, a night out with the guys just to spend time with you, maybe, nursing you on the couch, maybe, binge watching something with you while you recover, because I understand that you're not in the best health at this time and you need me to be present and a source of support in your life. That is what I define as true love. So, I'm looking for someone who, in a sense, can be a descendant of the person I think who's the ultimate expression of love, which is the person of Jesus Christ. So that's my personal philosophy. But when it comes to love, what I really want you all to take with you as I conclude this video is that, again, love is as much of a discipline as it is a delight. There's no love without sacrifice. We can't control how certain individuals, how they choose to react to our compassion and our charity. We can't influence where they decide to go. What we can do is we can always keep, our attitudes in check about it. We can reform our mindsets so that we're not caught into, vicious cycles of bitterness and of resentment and simply of spite. We can, adjust our perspectives where we understand that, all things, all people, all places, they have their time. And they have their certain place for manifestation. So we can choose to, in a sense, sort of be the bigger person and express love anyway, even when that love isn't always reciprocated. So I want to conclude with the final statement that it's not simply important that we love more, that we express more love. Sometimes expressing more love simply means that you're that much more spiteful when the result is contrary to the expectation. But what I think we need to do is we need to learn how to love better. And I feel that the love that I've come to discover and that I'm learning to practice of letting the heart win, of prioritizing love itself over resentment, love itself over vengeance. I think that's really just the bottom line, the best love that there is. And so I just want to take the time to, thank you all for following me along on this journey. I've got a real special treat for you immediately following this video. I decided that Honestly Single would benefit from a cool theme song, so I hope you enjoy. And again, thank you all for your support. There's more coming soon. Take care. Weaving through a mess of soft keys and hard knocks, people shooting shots like they always on a shot clock. I'm not meant to be another dude who lip locks with women I don't see as more than lolly and a quick pop. Things are crazy, the culture's racy, mine's getting hazy, cause I don't know at times how we'll thrive in a world too lazy to put more thought into how we ought to care for our ladies, to teach our guys that the girl is not some glossed up Mercedes. Let me get on to the point now. I'ma show this troubled world how there's a better way to dating and to mating once we put down the crooked standards in the con art, the misconceptions in the black hearts. So when the time comes for cuffing season, we don't need a weapon or a shopping cart. To put my case lightly, we got ills on the nightly, people faking commitment just for the thrills, man, it's frightening. And our sisters and brothers be slinging stones at each other like they'll find a solution by putting their partner under. Hey, weaving through a mess of soft cues and hard knocks, people shooting shots like they always on a shot clock. I don't know if I'm the type who's meant to mix and mingle, but I found strength in the title, Honestly Single. Yeah, Honestly Single. Said I'm not sure I'm the type to go mix up and mingle, but I hope y'all had a blast with this lyrical jingle. Yeah, Honestly Single. That concludes season 1, people. Thank you all so much for your viewership, for your support. It's been a blast. There's been so much that's been out already. There's been so much that I want to release in the near future. Season 2 will be coming up in due time. I plan on having some more interviews, more people with different perspectives, more than just me and mine, so to speak. But I think you all will really enjoy it. In the meantime, I'll be on brief hiatus. I'm going to spend some time working on a book based on this very series, and then I'll be back. But again, thank you all so much for your support. I know I don't upload as often as some of the other YouTubers out there, but when it comes out, it is quality, and I hope it's brought wealth to your life. You all take care and be blessed.